Go.
Hi, namaste, friends, and
Namaste.
welcome to this special podcast. Today, we are talking with Shri Vivek Mittal. Vivek and I were classmates from British Pilani. Vivek is a CEO of Afida Africa, a sustainability firm, and I'm pretty sure he's going to talk a little bit about that. Uh, Vivek, welcome to this conversation today.
Thank you, Rajesh, and thanks for having me. Thanks to you for setting up the series of uh, Gita discussion and then Chaturmasa. Hari Om.
So, Vivek, before we kick off, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you very much. I'm 51 years old, studied at BITS Pilani with Rajesh going back now nearly 30 years. Actually, exactly 30 years this year. Live in London, wife, two teenage children. Even though I claim to live in London, most of the time I'm on a plane. I even managed to take 12 flights, of which 6 were long haul in 2020, which was low for travel for everybody. Since my engineering, I finished an MBA in the Netherlands, and I've been focusing on infrastructure finance for the best part of the last 30 years, mainly renewable energy. And these days, most of my time is devoted to a non-profit association of infrastructure investors and developers, and active in Africa, called Afida Africa. And I'm also advising a couple of clean energy startups on the Indian subcontinent on scaling up their businesses. So that's me by background.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you for that. So, Vivek, before we kick off this thing, um, what what's your view of food, good food and drink in general? Can you share your thoughts on that?
Sure. For pretty much, I think ever since consciousness started, I guess at the age of 8, 9, I've been working on one gear, which is turbo. Excess is good, has been my motto around food. And I'll give you a couple of anecdotes, actually. So at age 8,
Mhm.
we used to have sports day in March past, as past. I don't know whether you did that in school,
I remember
but
that.
my my uh, my sports teacher actually excused me from march past, where you learned marching left, right, left, right, left, right, because he said that my feet and legs were not coordinated. So he says you can't march. I was interrupting everybody else's flow. Around the same time, I realized that actually my eyes and my stomach were not coordinated either. And so what I saw, I had to eat whether I needed to or not. And I'll tell you, like at age 13, we were driving from the Bengal Bihar border where we live to Delhi, where we were going to move to. And we stopped in Varanasi at one of my first experience of a 5-star hotel, Clark Hotel, I remember.
Mhm.
And that's the first time I saw a buffet. And we had a family deal of children paid half price. I ate so much that day that they charged my father full price for me. I ended with a piece of cake which would have covered probably an A4 size sheet, or at least most of it. And it was really embarrassing for them, but they made sure I finished it. So that's been the other theme of food, is finishing it. And life didn't disappoint. I mean, finally, so at age 22, few months after graduating, we were used to all this, the motor oil fried samosas and Nagarji and Maggie,
Of course,
Blue Moon Maggie.
of
I
course.
was going to the Netherlands for my MBA degree,
Mhm.
and KLM, which I was flying, they upgraded me from economy to business. So my
Mhm.
very first flight was in business class.
Wow.
And talk about serendipity. And I mean, they came around, this lady came around, the stewardess came around with this cart full of drinks, and she said, "What will you have?" And I said, like, bloody hell, what should I have? So she could see that I was tempted and I was too shy to ask, so she gave me a whole bunch of drinks to have. So anyway, so 30 years of overeating, overindulging. There you go.
So you would call yourself a gourmet and someone who loves food?
Overeater, more than gourmet. Yeah.
Okay, okay, and it's interesting. You did Chaturmasa last year in 2020 along with a bunch of us. So why did you do it? What motivated you? And what was your
Um,
expectation as a result of doing that particular Chaturmasa?
well, considering my background, so it was again, the same theme of serendipity. First of all, when you mentioned it, it took me a nanosecond to say that I must do it because
Hmm.
I started 2020 with questioning amongst other things, questioning my association with food.
Hmm.
And what had happened was basically 2018 onwards, I started as part of my work in sustainability. I started thinking about consumption, consumption of lots of
Hmm.
things.
Hmm.
And food is a large part of what we as human beings consume. And I started getting behind, how food is produced and things like that.
Hmm.
Uh, and also health-wise, basically the body started rebelling against excess eating and drinking. So the direction of travel health-wise was not great. And I found, so I started 2020 with a promise of not having non-veg. I used to have maybe 95% of my meals had some kind of non-veg in it. I said, okay, I'm going to try a year. And I spent 2019, I've sort of been able to steer away from non-veg a little bit.
Hmm.
I said, no non-veg. And I'd been on this lovely retreat earlier in March, just before global lockdown, to yoga retreat in Tamil Nadu, in southern India, which I came back feeling like a 30-year-old. 10 days of
Wow.
sattvic food, yoga, meditation, and my goodness, the transformation was incredible. You know, so when you mentioned, and I was looking for a way to create a lifestyle change in the way I was eating, and so I kind of leapt at the chance of Chaturmasa with no expectation of being able to last even a day in that, because
Hmm.
part of it was fasting, and we'll talk about that. But I have never fasted longer than I slept, and in fact, I remember times when I'd get up in the middle of the night and eat something because it was just the dumb thing for a Punjabi boy.
Right.
But anyway, so there you go.
Okay. That's good. So, can you describe your experiences the 5 months that we did Chaturmasa?
I'll tell you. It was hard, and I stayed the course for the first 6 weeks. To be honest, after that, I kind of floundered,
Hmm.
and I'll explain that. It's but in a nutshell, it's hard, but it's not impossible, and it's totally worth it. So breaking it down to sort of I have four constituents, right? So there's sattvic food, and you're much better placed to explain sattvic food, but I'll make it go at that. Giving up something one per month, and others have explained that as well. So I'm not going to 2 meals a day,
Hmm.
and the Ekadashi fast, fortnightly fast. And in fact, just yesterday, I did the fast. I took it for about 24 hours. Supposed to be for 36 hours. Uh, last evening, after 24 hours of no drinking, no eating, my resolve broke down. But so the sattvic food it was actually quite good. The first month was giving up green leafy vegetables.
Yeah.
I've never really been that attached to vegetables, to be honest. So it
Hmm.
was not that difficult, but it is challenging. If you're going to be caffeine free, tea free, non-veg, no non-veg, no alcohol, none of all of that stuff. Uh, no eggs even.
Yeah.
I eat, even though I've given up non-veg, eggs, I eat sort of, it's a weird way of thinking about no non-veg. So it was easy. But then the next month on, there was no yogurt and the 2 months later was no dairy. I don't really have that much yogurt and dairy. So there wasn't much to give me. But then I fell off the wagon big time because
Hmm.
in mid-August, took a family vacation to the coast of to the southern coast of the UK, of England, and there's this place that my son and I go to for fresh fish, and they have lovely places for ice cream. So I completely fell off the wagon at that point in time for a week, and it took me best part of sort of a month and a half to get rid of those cravings. And suddenly, even though I don't have milk so much, I couldn't do without ice cream every day.
Right.
And in the middle of a Chaturmasa fast, where you're supposed to be giving up milk, so it was a funny way to approach that. The Ekadashi fast, funnily enough, went very well for me, because the first time I did it, 24 hours no eating.
Mm-hmm.
I had water. I did it for 24 hours, and it was amazing. Again, I never thought I was capable of that. I was expecting to, gouge myself with food very quickly, but I lasted. And then gradually over the next 2-3 sessions, I managed to do the full 36 hours. And you get hunger pangs, but it's more a mindset. Once you decide as you started that, right, I'm going to see it through.
Yeah.
At least for me, kind of that worked out. So that was, oddly enough, given how others struggle with it, that was the easiest part for me.
So talk to me about that. I know that you talked about falling off the wagon and eating ice creams and fish and chips and the things that you liked it, and that were not supposed to eat during this for 4-5 months of Chaturmasa. And then also the other thing is you also talked about in the same breath that you were able to do these ekadashis very well, fasting without eating any food or water. I know that you've done that as well. So can you talk to me about, did a switch happen anytime during the 4-5 months that, okay, looks like food is just an instrument and you're switching off and managing your mind, or was it more of a food focused for you?
Food as medicine, food as instrument. That's something I've been thinking about for a while. Since 2000, I'd say 2018, 19, I was thinking about that, and that's what took me. I mean, sort of a herd of wild elephants couldn't have driven me to do Chaturmasa in 2018 or 19. But I found it really strange that in spite of all the resolve, in spite of the fact that I could do probably one of the hardest things in this, a 36-hour dry fast, I had this sudden urge once I had it once, ice cream. I couldn't stop. I mean, it was something, there was a desire for ice cream that had awakened that I just had no control over, and everything else was fine. I didn't need to, beyond that holiday, I went to barbecues where people were having lots and lots of meat, and I had no desire to have any other meat. And I've been a big meat eater all my life. But I still haven't worked out the ins and outs of this ice cream craving that came and went. So actually, the resolve for this year is to try and stay away from puddings and desserts and confectionery. Sorry, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. That's a good thing, but maybe the question is, why would you want to do that?
Why would I want to do that? I think it's that goes back to our Gita group discussion. Dispassion for what's
Mm-hmm.
not real.
Mm-hmm.
I think the penny has fallen. So hopefully we'll get to talk about this in a little bit more detail. But I'm convinced that our approach, as in all of humanity, the way we approach food, mm-hmm. amongst other things that we consume, is really taking us down a path as humanity, which is certainly not sustainable, but it's not going to end up well for anybody. And there needs to be a rethink on how we approach it. Vairagya, dispassion, which Gita and Vedanta teach us, it really, brought the message home that it's totally unnecessary. In fact, just before we started this afternoon's Gita session, I was on there's a lovely organization in Delhi called Can Support, and they're organizing talks on health, mental well-being, and food is part of that, which I hope to become part of. there was a gentleman talking about Nada yoga, and we discussed this. So food is more medicine. It's an enabler for,
Yeah.
So Vairagya is about dispassion, but dispassion, as an observer rather than as the subject. That's how you've studied it in Bhagavad Gita. That's an entire
Right.
discussion on its own.
Right.
I think it's well worth the effort to steer clear of these things that draw you in for no reason, and they don't do us any good, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I heard you also say that because of the Gita study, what you've been able to go through the whole of last year, it kind of the Chaturmasa seemed to be like a practical application of some of these concepts of dispassion and detachment towards food and other material objects that may not necessarily give us that may be pleasurable but need not necessarily be good for us in a longer run.
Well, I mean, and I struggle with that with all my Q&A because I'm a very tactile person, and I love hugs when I get them or get the option to give them to my children. They're fed up with this, but I've enjoyed eating. I've eaten in 40 different countries over my life. I enjoy the finer things in life, and I think the whole point of dispassion is worth clarifying. And Alpna, our classmate, put it very well in one of our sessions, that it is being aware that our body is a body that we feed, and in the context of food, we are an observer to that body. We are not that body. So go ahead and enjoy, but in that context, rather than if I don't eat that kebab, it's not worth living. And I've been there. I know how it is to feel like that.
Right. No, I see. I know what you're saying. I think there's a very beautiful Upanishadic saying, and I'm pretty sure you would have read that. The word English, the Sanskrit word annam, actually means that something that one can eat, and something that will also eat. So basically, it's like a cycle. We eat food, and after some time, we become food to somebody else. So it's a complete cycle. It can be interpreted in multiple ways. We become food to plants after our death because of once we are buried, and it goes off into minerals and decomposes and all that. That's one thing. Second thing is, if we overeat, we become food to that food because it consumes us, and that's the way it is.
And this planet is going to consume us. I mean, the way we are using it, the way we are headed.
Right. Right. So let me talk to you. Let me ask you another question. Okay. Going back to the Chaturmasa experience, I know 5 months must have been a pretty long time, and yes, you did fall off the wagon, and you got back again, and you tried to follow it as best as what you could, and it's really commendable given that the first time that you're attempting this, coming from a totally different perspective. The question is, if you were to summarize, what were the top 2 or 3 challenges that you faced, and what did you do? You said you'd said the penny dropped. What are the 2 or 3 things that you did to overcome those challenges?
I think the first challenge, and this I've experienced before with my yoga practice, the first challenge is I can't do this, and or I don't. The other sort of related challenges, I don't really need to do it. I deserve all the food that I can eat.
Right.
I deserve the finest food. Or so these are the 2 things that got burnt out. The fact that the very first day, July 1st, I could go 24 hours without food. I mean, that blew my mind. I didn't think it was possible. And then when I tried 36 hours without food and water, and it happened. So these are things that we put, constraints around. What are they called? They're called supports, braces.
Yeah.
And they fell. The other one is, I deserve all the good food I can have, and that can go in all sorts. I deserve the best car, deserve a Rolls Royce, or I deserve a mansion, or to fly a private jet. It could translate. So I think the context, the way you explain Chaturmasa, how you give up green vegetables for a month in July because of a particular reason. You give up yogurt followed by milk and pulses. It's got to do with being kind to the body, but also being kind to Prakriti, environment.
Environment, yeah.
That was beautiful. And the third thing was how little we actually need to be really nourished. Because, just like everybody else, in 6 weeks, I dropped 5 kilos of weight.
Wow.
And I had amazing energy. I was, one of my things is to get up early in the morning. I was able to do that. Nowadays, even, I'm a little bit more lethargic. I get up with an intent to go to yoga and go back to bed. Those were, so to eat less, to be better for the planet, to our consciences towards the planet, to have more energy, to lose weight, to feel healthier. It's a bonanza of all the good things we want in life, right?
Right. No, I think that's good. I think it looks like you kind of answered my next question in terms of what benefits that you already saw. But that's fine. I think that's good. But I want to talk to you a little bit about the kind of work what you do in your professional life related to sustainability and renewable resources and all that. And can you highlight maybe a couple of aha moments that you've had in terms of going through the Chaturmasa and finding a connection towards how things can be changed to improve sustainability in our planet?
Well, I mean, I'll set it out very, very briefly. I mean, there is a group of scientists, a global group of scientists. They number something like 150 to 250 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the IPCC.
Mm-hmm.
And for the last 40 plus years, they've been studying the effects of climate change, which is really emissions of carbon into the air and how they're accumulating.
Yeah.
But over the last 4 or 5 years, they started looking at the impacts of climate change on land and oceans as well. And there was a report in 2019 which said that actually human beings influence and use 70% of all non-ice land.
Okay.
And all our infrastructure, roads, people, houses, airports, playgrounds, that's in 1%, which is equal to roughly 3 times the size of California.
Mm-hmm.
So not a lot. 8 billion people with all their infrastructure fit into 1% of usable land. All the crop that we grow is somewhat less than the size of the US. So not North America, but US.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 6%. But we use 45% of our land for farm animals. And farm animals account for 96% of all animal life now on the planet. So whatever we value for our own use exceeds in numbers. And it's using up more. So that's like 6 United States. So that'll combine all of Africa and Europe together, and possibly large part of Asia. So not a lot of space if you want to continue living the way we are living right now.
So tell me one thing. If I were to take off one metric that you're talking about, you're saying that we are using most of the non-ice land for farming of animals.
No, about 45% of that.
45%.
So we use 70%.
Okay.
Ish.
Okay.
45% for farm animals, 6% for our crops that we use. I mean, so it's 12% for crops, 6% of the crop goes to animals.
Right.
Farm animals.
Right.
And 6% we use. So 6%, any vegan will live off that 6%. Right. And we live in that 1%. Then there's forests and things like that. We grow forests for our own use. So there's also material, houses.
Yeah.
Where does cement come from? Where does all the aggregate for building houses and buildings come from? Where does the timber come from? So
Right.
we were basically using 70%. So we can't afford to grow the population
Mm.
anymore,
Mm.
any furthermore, because of, and scale the consumption accordingly. There has to be a rethink.
So this is alarming statistics what you're sharing. So what did your Chaturmasa experience? What were your aha moments to figure out how you can improve this situation?
So the big aha moment was that there is a way to enjoy life, to nourish ourselves, to look after
Hmm.
the planet, without feeling like any of it is a penalty. So,
Hmm.
one of I've lost about 50, 60 kilos in my life, and it's all come back all the time because I've used dieting as sort of a penance.
Right.
Um, when we started Chaturmasa, there was this flood of lovely recipes and filling recipes.
Yep.
We were able, all of us were able to enjoy such lovely food shared between us virtually.
Yeah.
My cooking skills, my repertoire of cooking has increased. So there is a way to achieve all of this, have a total change in lifestyle. And as I said earlier, become healthier, have more energy, be kinder to the planet. Um, so there are no losses here. And it's
Mm.
a lifestyle that we should all aspire to.
Yeah, no, that's really amazing, and I'm pretty sure that you're going to take some of those moments, learnings, and apply in the real world in your life work. So Chaturmasa is an annual phenomena. It's a seasonal change that happens in the nature. We are part of nature. We got to tune ourselves to the changing nature so that we don't fall sick, and we are in tune with the nature. And that's the whole concept of Chaturmasa. So and you did it for the first time. So if you were to give your top three recommendations to a newcomer, okay, who may be interested to do Chaturmasa in 2021, what would that be?
Ah, so first of all, I'm certainly going to do it, even though I don't have much expectation. I'll follow everything to the T. And I'm looking forward to actually building in some of those concepts from the word go from now. So
Hmm.
not just focus on those 5 months.
Hmm.
I mean, my message is to people like me, the overfed and the overindulged,
Hmm.
that actually the biggest thing, the single biggest thing I'd say is there's a saying, perfection is the enemy of the good. So, doesn't we don't have to do each and every thing. Do what you can, make a change.
Right.
Um, it's the second thing is focusing on relearning the role of food for us. Food is
Hmm.
actually medicine
Yeah.
and good medicine to be
Yeah.
enjoyed,
Yeah.
but it is not something to be over indulging in. And
Right.
that's the big learning that I'd like to bring other people to.
Hmm.
And then enjoy the journey and save the planet at the same time.
Wow. Wow. So you're saying just by making simple changes to the way that we eat, we can actually be saving the planet.
Simple changes. So, somebody eating 1 kilo a day, and that's not hard to get to. I mean, 450 grams doesn't take you very far.
Yeah.
Whether it is totally vegan or vegetarian with dairy or full shebang meat eating, that can have a footprint impact of three to one.
Right.
The
Right.
inputs that go into getting that on our plate.
Right. Right. No, Vivek, it's been so amazing to talk with you to kind of understand your own journey in uh, trying to overcome the uh, the uh, the habits of dependency on food or overeating and things like that. And I'm glad that you said yes that you're going to do it again for 2021 Chaturmasa. I'm pretty sure that your journey is inspiring to lot many more people, and I'm hoping that a lot of us will start following this particular simple change, lifestyle change. It would actually cause a lifestyle change, not only in us for good, but also for the people around us, for the family, and for everybody else. So with that, I know we're coming to the top of the hour. Thank you so much for your insights, and just a yes or no answer. So will you do Chaturmasa 2021 again?
Definitely.
Fantastic. I look forward to working with you again in this year to inspire more people and see how we can get more people adopt this and enjoy their own lives and also enjoy holistic living with the nature. Thank you so much, Vivek.
Hari Om, thank you very
Hari Om.
much.
Thank you.
Oh, God bless.